Hey guys, tonight we're taking a gentle journey back in time, not to the bustling construction sites we've explored before, but to a quieter, more contemplative beginning. We're going to dim the lights on the colossal mystery of how the pyramids were built, and instead drift into the equally fascinating but perhaps less talked about enigma of where the very first pyramid site was chosen and why. Imagine trying to pick the perfect spot for the greatest structure the world had ever seen. Long before Google Maps, or even a decent compass, you'd probably end up building it in your backyard, only to realize you forgot about the swamp in the corner. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you're listening from tonight, and what time it is for you. Are you winding down after a long day in the shadow of modern skyscrapers, or just waking up to a quiet morning in a cozy cottage? Share it in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You close your eyes, and a different kind of ancient Egyptian air fills your senses. It's not the dusty clamor of a construction site, but the serene calm of a vast open plateau stretching towards the horizon. The setting sun paints the sky in soft hues of rose and lavender, and the only sounds are the gentle rustle of dry grasses and the distant call of an ibis. You're not just anywhere. You're standing on the very ground where an idea, a revolutionary concept, began to take shape, leading to the creation of the world's first large stone building. This isn't about a pharaoh's whim. This is about a man, a truly extraordinary individual whose intellect shaped the very landscape of ancient Egypt. His name was Imhotep. Close your eyes and picture him, not a king, not a warrior, but a brilliant polymath. He was the chief minister, a high priest, a physician, and most importantly for our story tonight, the royal architect and vizier to Pharaoh Djoser, who reigned during the Third Dynasty around 26 and 70 BC. This was a time when tombs were typically flat, rectangular mud brick structures called mastabas. Functional, yes, but hardly inspiring. Imhotep was different. He had a vision, a spark of genius that saw beyond the conventional. He wasn't just thinking about a bigger mastaba. He was contemplating something entirely new, something that would literally reach for the sky and symbolize the pharaoh's divine ascent. And his first monumental task was to choose the perfect spot for this unprecedented structure. Imagine the pressure. The pharaoh entrusts you with his eternal resting place, and your first job is to pick the dirt where it all begins. No pressure, right? You can almost feel the gentle breeze as Imhotep, perhaps accompanied by a few trusted scribes and surveyors, walks this vast, open plateau. He's not just looking for a flat piece of land. He's observing the subtle undulations of the earth, the way the light falls at different times of day, and critically, the underlying geology. He's a man who understands the very fabric of the earth beneath his feet, a true pioneer of geotechnical engineering without the fancy degrees. The decision to choose a particular spot for a pharaoh's eternal dwelling wasn't taken lightly. It involved complex calculations, astronomical observations, and perhaps even priestly rituals to ensure the favor of the gods. The chosen site had to be symbolically potent, practically feasible for construction, and strategically secure for centuries to come. It was a cosmic real estate decision, with immortality as the ultimate amenity. You'd think they'd at least offer a loyalty discount for repeat pharaohs. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is that Imhotep wasn't just building for Djoser. He was building a precedent. Every subsequent royal tomb, every grand monument, would in some way owe its existence to the foundational decisions made here, on this quiet, expansive plateau. This was the blueprint, the very first step in a monumental architectural journey that would define ancient Egypt. Many historians still debate the precise sequence of Imhotep's thought process. Did the idea of a stacked stone structure come first, leading him to seek out a suitable location, or did the unique characteristics of this particular plateau inspire his revolutionary design? The exact spark of genius remains a gentle mystery, but the outcome is undeniable. It was here, in this serene expanse, that the concept of the pyramid began its ascent. As the faint glow of dawn spreads across the horizon, illuminating the vast desert, you find yourself still standing on that pivotal ground, sensing the history beneath your feet. This wasn't just any desert plateau. It was a carefully chosen location, a place that would become synonymous with the earliest grand expressions of Egyptian civilization, Saqqara. Imagine the criteria Imhotep and his team considered. They weren't simply tossing a dart at a map. Saqqara, even in Djoser's time, already held significance. It was a vast necropolis, a burial ground for the city of Memphis, the ancient capital of Egypt. For centuries, important officials and nobles had been laid to rest here in those traditional, flat-topped mastaba tombs. This pre-existing sanctity wasn't just convenient, it was crucial. It meant the ground was already consecrated, already understood as a gateway to the afterlife. It's like choosing a plot in a really exclusive ancient cemetery where all the cool historical figures hang out. You can almost feel the gentle breeze whispering tales of past interments as you walk across the ancient sands. The presence of numerous mastabas at Saqqara provided not just a spiritual context, but also a practical one. It meant there was already a network of established pathways, some rudimentary infrastructure, and perhaps even a skilled workforce. Familiar with funerary architecture in the area, this wasn't building from scratch in the middle of nowhere. It was an expansion, an elevation of an existing sacred space. It's like upgrading your comfortable old bungalow into a sprawling multi-story mansion, but with more stone and less plumbing. The site at Saqqara offered a specific advantage. It was located on the western bank of the Nile River. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, the West was intrinsically linked with death and the afterlife. The sun set in the west, symbolizing the journey into the underworld, and thus burial grounds were almost exclusively situated on the western bank. This wasn't just a preference, it was a deeply ingrained religious imperative. Imhotep wouldn't have dared to suggest building Djoser's eternal home on the living eastern bank. It's a bit like trying to set up a haunted house attraction in a bustling shopping mall. Just doesn't quite fit the vibe. Beyond the spiritual significance, there was a practical, often overlooked benefit to its western location. The prevailing winds in Egypt blow from north to south, but the dry desert air from the west helped to preserve the tombs and mummies. Imagine the dusty winds sweeping across the plateau, carrying away moisture and contributing to the arid conditions perfect for preservation. It was nature's own silent assistant in the monumental task of eternal preservation. One fascinating detail that historians often point to is the sheer size of the Saqqara plateau. It was vast, offering ample space for Djoser's ambitious pyramid complex and the subsequent structures that would follow. Unlike some other potential sites, Saqqara provided room for expansion, for future pharaohs to emulate Djoser's grand vision without crowding. It was like buying a massive plot of land, knowing you'll eventually want to add a tennis court and a guest house. Many historians still debate whether Saqqara's existing religious significance or its practical advantages, like access to the Nile, which we'll touch on later, held more weight in Imhotep's final decision. Was it a sacred calling or a logistical masterpiece? The answer, like so many things in ancient Egypt, likely lies in a subtle blend of both, a harmonious marriage of the spiritual and the pragmatic. As the sun gently rises higher, casting long shadows across the ancient necropolis, you realize that Saqqara wasn't just a patch of desert, it was a crucible of history, a place where innovation met tradition, where the earthly aspirations of a pharaoh reached for the cosmic heavens, all guided by the visionary mind of Imhotep. It's a reminder that even the most monumental achievements begin with a single, perfectly chosen spot, a silent foundation for eternity. The morning light now illuminates the subtle contours of the Saqqara plateau, allowing you to appreciate a crucial, often invisible factor in its selection, the very ground beneath your feet. For a structure as monumental as a pyramid, especially one built of stone, a stable and reliable foundation was not just important, it was absolutely non-negotiable. Imhotep, with his keen intellect, understood the geology and underlying bedrock of this specific site, with a foresight that truly beggars belief. Imagine standing on a vast, flat expanse, feeling the firm, almost unyielding ground. This wasn't soft, shifting desert sand all the way down. Beneath a relatively thin layer of sand, Saqqara offered a solid, natural bedrock foundation, primarily composed of limestone. This was a stroke of geological luck, or perhaps a testament to Imhotep's careful reconnaissance. Building a multi-million-ton structure on unstable ground would be like trying to balance a skyscraper on a plate of jelly. You'd probably end up with the world's most expensive and certainly most embarrassing historical sinkhole. You can almost visualize the ancient surveyors, not with fancy modern tools, but with simple plumb bobs and spirit levels, perhaps crude water-filled troughs, meticulously testing the stability and evenness of the bedrock. They would have removed any superficial layers of sand and loose debris, getting straight to the hard, reliable foundation. This wasn't just about finding a spot. It was about finding the spot where the earth itself could bear the immense weight of eternity. The choice of limestone bedrock was particularly advantageous for several reasons. Firstly, it's a relatively stable sedimentary rock, meaning it doesn't shift or compress significantly under load. Secondly, and rather ingeniously, the limestone could also be quarried directly from the site itself or from nearby areas. Imagine the efficiency. Your construction material is literally under your feet, eliminating the need for vast transport distances for the core masonry. It's like building a house where the bricks magically appear from your garden. Your budget would certainly thank you. This proximity to suitable quarrying material for the core of the pyramid drastically reduced logistical challenges. While finer casing stones and granite for specific chambers might still need to be transported from farther afield, like Tura and Aswan respectively, as we gently explored earlier, the bulk of the pyramid's mass could be sourced locally. This was a masterstroke of practical planning, a silent nod to sustainability millennia before the term even existed. One fascinating detail that many overlook is the absence of major fault lines or seismic activity in the immediate vicinity of Saqqara. While ancient Egyptians wouldn't have understood plate tectonics, their long-term observations of the land would have guided them to areas less prone to earthquakes or ground instability. This intuitive understanding of their environment contributed to the incredible longevity of their structures. It's like having a natural instinct for where not to build your sandcastle on a busy beach. Many historians still debate the precise methods Imhotep used to assess the subsurface conditions. Was it through digging exploratory pits, observing the natural erosion patterns, or a combination of empirical knowledge passed down through generations? The depth of their understanding of the ground's properties, considering their limited tools, remains a testament to their observational skills and practical genius. As the sun climbs higher, warming the ancient stones, you realize that the stability of Saqqara wasn't just a coincidence. It was a deliberate, informed choice, a foundational decision that literally supported the weight of Djoser's ambition and Imhotep's visionary design. It's a quiet reminder that even the grandest dreams need the most solid ground to stand upon, and sometimes the biggest secrets are buried right beneath your feet. The morning light, now a gentle, pervasive warmth, highlights the vastness of the Saqqara plateau, and your mind drifts to another crucial piece of the puzzle, its immediate surroundings. A magnificent structure like a pyramid, especially one made of stone, couldn't simply appear in a vacuum. It required a constant flow of resources, and for that, proximity to Memphis and access to resources was absolutely paramount. Imagine the ancient city of Memphis, just a short distance away, bustling with life. This wasn't just the political capital. It was the economic heart of Egypt, a vibrant hub of administration, trade, and skilled labor. Being so close meant that the Pharaoh's court, the treasury, and the vast bureaucratic machinery needed to fund and manage such a colossal undertaking were readily accessible. It's like building your corporate headquarters right next to your largest factory and your main bank. Efficiency, pure and simple. You can almost hear the distant murmurs of the city, a low hum of activity that would have constantly reminded the workers at Saqqara of the civilization they were building for. This proximity provided not just administrative, convenience, but also a constant supply of food, water, and perhaps even the occasional fresh change of linen for the more fastidious laborers. It was a well-oiled machine, ensuring that the pyramid project was always well stocked, from the largest granite block to the smallest piece of papyrus for accounting. Critically, Memphis's location on the Nile River meant unparalleled access to the vital waterway. The Nile wasn't just for drinking and irrigation, it was the ultimate superhighway of ancient Egypt. Imagine colossal barges loaded with timber from distant lands. Yes, Egypt didn't have much large timber, so it had to be imported, or perhaps even some of those harder, more exotic stones, from quarries far to the south, being floated directly to the vicinity of Memphis. From there, it was a relatively short, manageable journey overland to the Saqqara plateau. It's like having your own personal Amazon Prime delivery service, but with a much slower, more majestic river as the main delivery route. The access to water itself was, of course, non-negotiable. While the construction site had to be on high, stable ground, the workforce and the construction process, remember that water for lubrication, needed a continuous and abundant supply. Being near the Nile meant that water could be transported, albeit with effort, from the river to the plateau. It was a logistical dance, balancing the need for firm ground with the essential requirement for life-giving water. You'd think with all that river nearby they'd at least invent a decent water cooler. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is the supply of wood for tools, sledges and scaffolding. Egypt itself wasn't rich in large, suitable timber. Much of it would have been imported from places like Lebanon for cedar or even further afield. Being close to Memphis, a major port, facilitated the offloading and distribution of these crucial yet often invisible resources. Without wood, the entire construction effort would grind to a halt. It's a reminder that even the most stone-centric projects rely on a diverse supply chain. Many historians still debate the precise routes and methods used for the overland transport of materials from the Nile to the Saqqara plateau, especially for the heaviest blocks. Was it a carefully constructed temporary road, or simply a well-trodden path smoothed by repeated use? The efficiency and ingenuity of their logistical planning, without the aid of modern infrastructure, remains a subtle marvel. As the morning progresses, you can almost hear the faint echoes of the bustling trade routes, the creak of laden carts, and the shouts of porters bringing supplies from Memphis to Saqqara. This wasn't just a site chosen for its spiritual significance or geological stability. It was a site chosen for its strategic accessibility, a place where the vital arteries of ancient Egyptian life could feed the monumental ambition of a pharaoh. It makes you realize that even the grandest visions are rooted in practicalities, and sometimes the most magnificent achievements are built on good old-fashioned logistics. The desert air, now warm and dry, carries the faint scent of ancient earth, and as you gaze across the vast expanse of Saqqara, your eyes are drawn not just to the ground, but to the sky. The choice of this particular site for Djoser's pyramid was not merely about practicalities like stable bedrock or proximity to resources. It also encompassed a profound understanding of celestial alignment and astronomical observation. Imagine Imhotep, perhaps on a clear, star-filled night, standing on this very spot, meticulously charting the movement of the heavens. For the ancient Egyptians, the stars were not just distant twinkles. They were the dwelling places of the gods, the pathways for the pharaoh's eternal soul. The pyramid, as a cosmic launching pad, had to be perfectly aligned with these celestial routes to ensure a successful transition into the afterlife. It's like having to perfectly calibrate your spiritual GPS before embarking on the ultimate journey. You'd certainly want to avoid any cosmic detours. The precision with which the pyramids, including Djoser's step pyramid, were oriented to the cardinal points, true north, south, east, west, is astonishing. How did they achieve this without a compass? It's believed they used a method involving observing the circumpolar stars, those stars that appear to circle around a fixed point in the northern sky and never set below the horizon. By carefully tracking their movement through the night, they could pinpoint true north with remarkable accuracy. It's a bit like using the steady rotation of a celestial teapot to find your way home, only with much grander stakes than a cup of tea. This astronomical knowledge was not just for spiritual purposes, it had a practical application in surveying and laying out the vast foundation of the pyramid complex. A perfectly oriented base ensured structural stability and harmony with the cosmos. You can almost feel the quiet intensity of those nocturnal observations, the ancient astronomers patiently recording data year after year until they had the precise information needed to align the Pharaoh's eternal home. One fascinating detail that often gets overlooked is the potential connection between the Nile River's annual flood cycle and astronomical observations. The timing of the flood was crucial for agriculture and also for construction, as it allowed for easier transport of heavy stones. The Egyptians tracked the heliacal rising of Sothis, our Sirius, which coincided with the flood's onset, further blending their astronomical knowledge with their practical lives. It's a complex calendar that doubles as a construction schedule. Many historians still debate the exact instruments and level of mathematical sophistication involved in these early astronomical alignments for the step pyramid. Was it purely empirical observation, or did Imhotep possess a more advanced theoretical understanding of celestial mechanics than we currently credit him with? The subtle perfection of the orientation hints at a profound knowledge, leaving plenty of room for quiet contemplation. It's like trying to reverse engineer a complex piece of clockwork from a single perfectly ticking gear. As the sun fully rises, casting long, defined shadows across the Saqqara plateau, you realize that the choice of this site was not just about the earth beneath or the resources around. It was also about the heavens above. It was a place where the earthly realm could be meticulously calibrated to the divine, a nexus where the pharaoh's journey to immortality began with a cosmic alignment. It makes you wonder what invisible, celestial forces might quietly influence the spaces and structures we inhabit today, connecting us to something far larger than ourselves, even as we sleep. The sun now hangs high in the sky, casting a stark, unwavering light across the Saqqara plateau. While the previous sections focused on the strategic brilliance behind choosing the pyramid's location, it's important to remember that even the most meticulously planned endeavor faces its share of initial hurdles. The construction of Djoser's step pyramid, the very first of its kind, was no exception, and it came with its own set of challenges unique to its groundbreaking nature. Imagine, for a moment, the skepticism. You're Imhotep, proposing to build a massive stone structure stacked like giant steps far beyond anything anyone has ever conceived. There would have been logistical nightmares, technical puzzles, and perhaps even a few eye rolls from traditionalist builders who preferred their mastabas flat and predictable. It's like being the first person to suggest building a house out of, say, recycled plastic bottles. Everyone would look at you funny, and you'd have to figure out the plumbing yourself. One significant challenge was the sheer lack of precedent. There were no instruction manuals, no established best practices for building a multi-story stone structure of this scale. Every problem encountered, from quarrying larger blocks to devising effective ways to lift and place them, had to be solved from scratch. This was pure innovation, learning by doing, and probably a lot of trial and error. You can almost hear the exasperated grunts of the workers as a block didn't quite fit or a ramp proved too unstable. It's the kind of project where winging it slowly evolves into pioneering an entire field of engineering. Then there was the issue of training a workforce for an unprecedented task. While the Egyptians had skilled masons and laborers for traditional tomb construction, the scale and complexity of the step pyramid demanded new levels of coordination and specialized skills. Imagine trying to teach thousands of people a completely new way of working, with entirely new tools and techniques, all while under the pressure of completing a divine monument. It's like trying to teach your grandma to use a smartphone. Except, the smartphone is made of stone and weighs a ton. Consider the unknowns of the material itself. While limestone was readily available, understanding how it would behave under immense compression at different heights, or how to consistently cut and shape it to the required precision for a stepped structure, would have been a continuous learning process. They weren't just moving rocks, they were experimenting with load-bearing capacities and material science on a monumental scale. This wasn't just building, it was ancient materials research and development. One fascinating, yet often Overlooked challenge was waste management. Building a pyramid generates an astonishing amount of debris, discarded stone fragments, broken tools, and the remnants of the ramps themselves. Organizing and disposing of this waste efficiently without hindering the ongoing construction or cluttering the sacred site would have been a continuous logistical headache. It's like trying to build a massive sandcastle, but also having to carefully dispose of every grain of sand you don't use. Many historians still debate the specific engineering problems that posed the greatest difficulties for Imhotep and his teams. Was it the initial quarrying, the transport up the ramps, or the precise placement and fitting of each successive layer? The silence of the ancient records on these daily struggles only adds to the mystique of their eventual triumph. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the desert in softer hues, you realize that the grandeur of the step pyramid wasn't just a result of brilliant planning, but also of overcoming immense pioneering challenges. It stands as a testament to the sheer resilience and adaptability of the ancient Egyptians, proving that even when faced with the unknown, human ingenuity finds a way to build something truly eternal. It makes you wonder about the hidden struggles behind every great achievement you encounter, the silent battles fought and won long before the final polished result is presented. The desert evening air, now cooling to a pleasant temperature, brings with it a sense of quiet reverence as you contemplate the mind that conceived such a colossal undertaking. The step pyramid wasn't just a building, it was part of a sprawling, meticulously planned complex, a visionary creation that embodied Imhotep's complete understanding of architecture, spirituality, and the pharaoh's eternal needs. This wasn't just a construction project, it was an integrated artistic and spiritual masterpiece, dreamt up by one truly exceptional individual. Imagine Imhotep, not just as a builder, but as a visionary artist, seeing the entire complex in his mind's eye long before the first stone was cut. His plan for Djoser's burial was revolutionary, moving beyond a simple mastaba to an elaborate, multifaceted complex designed to facilitate the pharaoh's journey through the afterlife and ensure his perpetual cult. It's like designing an entire theme park for the afterlife, complete with all the necessary rides and amenities for a divine ruler. The Djoser complex at Saqqara wasn't just the pyramid itself. It included vast courtyards, mock buildings, ceremonial structures and underground passages, all enclosed within a massive limestone wall, mimicking the architecture of Memphis, but rendered in stone for eternity. You can almost feel the grandeur of the enclosed space, designed to be a symbolic representation of Djoser's earthly palace and a setting for his eternal jubilee. It truly redefined the concept of a royal burial. Imhotep's architectural genius lay not only in creating the first large-scale stone building, but also in experimenting with the material itself. He used relatively small, manageable limestone blocks, mimicking the mud brick and timber construction of earlier structures, but translating them into a more permanent, monumental medium. This was a transition period, an architectural leap that would set the stage for all future stone construction in Egypt. It's like being the first person to realize you can build a house out of Lego bricks instead of just mud. Game changer. Consider the subterranean world of the complex. Beneath the pyramid lay a labyrinth of tunnels, chambers and galleries, including the pharaoh's actual burial chamber. This intricate underground network, carved directly into the bedrock, required immense planning and skill to excavate and support. It wasn't just about going up, it was about going down, creating a hidden, protected space for the pharaoh's eternal rest. You can almost feel the cool, damp air of the underground passages, a secret world beneath the visible monument. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is the said festival court within the complex. This vast courtyard contained symbolic chapels representing the different nomes, provinces of Egypt, where Djoser would symbolically renew his kingship in the afterlife through the said festival ritual. This highlights how the complex was not just a tomb, but a perpetual stage for the pharaoh's eternal reign and his connection to the very fabric of Egypt. It's like building an eternal performance venue just for one very important, deceased superstar. Many historians still debate the precise symbolism of every architectural element within the Djoser complex. Was every mock building meant to represent a specific earthly structure, or did they carry deeper, more abstract spiritual meanings? The complexity of the design hints at a sophisticated theological and architectural program, leaving plenty of room for quiet contemplation and scholarly interpretation. As the quiet of the desert night deepens, you realize that Imhotep's overall plan for Saqqara was far more than just building a pyramid. It was creating an entire microcosm of the Egyptian world, a perpetual engine for the pharaoh's eternal existence, designed with an astounding foresight and an unwavering belief in the interconnectedness of life, death, and the divine. It makes you wonder what kind of grand, all-encompassing visions might be quietly shaping the spaces around you today, even if they're not quite as monumental as an eternal palace in stone. The desert air, now perfectly still and cool under the rising moon, holds the quiet secret of architectural evolution. Imhotep's initial vision for Djoser's tomb wasn't born as the majestic step pyramid you envision today. Instead, it was a subtle, almost imperceptible shift from the conventional, a series of changes to the initial design that transformed a traditional mastaba into a truly revolutionary monument. It's like starting to draw a simple square, then realizing you want to add layers, then more layers, until it becomes a magnificent multi-tiered cake, but made of stone. Imagine the original plan, a standard rectangular mastaba, the flat-topped mud brick tomb that had been the norm for centuries. This would have been a respectful, functional resting place for Djoser. But Imhotep, with his restless, innovative mind, wasn't content with mere functionality. He saw potential, a way to make the pharaoh's eternal home truly stand out, literally. The first subtle change likely involved simply stacking a smaller mastaba on top of a larger one. This created a step, a subtle elevation that hinted at something grander. Perhaps it was an experiment, a way to add prominence without completely abandoning established forms. You can almost hear the discussions, the murmurs of approval, or perhaps a few raised eyebrows among the traditionalists. It's like when your grandma tries to stack her teacups in a new, slightly precarious way, a small change, but visually intriguing. Then, the idea began to grow. Why stop at 2? Why not add more steps, creating a series of receding layers? This iterative process, this constant refinement of the initial concept, was what ultimately led to the iconic stepped pyramid shape. It wasn't a sudden, grand epiphany, but a gradual organic evolution of design, driven by Imhotep's continuous innovation and Djoser's boundless ambition. It's a testament to the power of iteration, even in ancient times, where every version 1.0 quickly led to a version 2.0 and beyond. The construction itself would have reflected these ongoing design changes. Imagine workers building a layer, only to have Imhotep or his foreman decide to enlarge it or add another layer on top. This meant constant adjustments, expansions, and sometimes even the demolition of previously built sections to accommodate the evolving vision. It's like building a sandcastle, then deciding halfway through that you want to add a moat, then a drawbridge, then a whole new turret. Your initial design document would be a mess. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is the scale of the expansion. The step pyramid was not simply built vertically. The initial mastaba was actually expanded outwards in stages, adding more material around its base before the subsequent layers were added. This outward expansion provided a wider, more stable foundation for the increasing height of the structure, demonstrating a keen understanding of structural engineering. It's a reminder that stability is key. Whether you're building a pyramid or a really tall Jenga tower, many historians still debate the exact number of design changes and expansions the step pyramid underwent during its construction. Was it more major phases or more subtle, continuous adjustments? The archaeological evidence, while clear about the stepped nature of the final structure, leaves room for interpretation about the precise chronology of these conceptual leaps. It's like trying to trace the exact lineage of a particularly intricate family recipe. You know it evolved, but the exact steps are a bit hazy. As the moon casts long, soft shadows across the ancient stones, you realize that the step pyramid, wasn't just a static monument born from a single flash of genius. It was a dynamic, evolving creation, a physical manifestation of Imhotep's audacious vision and his willingness to constantly push the boundaries of what was possible. It's a quiet reminder that even the most revolutionary ideas often begin with a small, seemingly simple change and grow into something truly extraordinary through perseverance and a little bit of playful experimentation. The desert night air, now surprisingly cool, carries the distant, almost imperceptible sound of the Nile, a gentle reminder of its enduring power. While the solid bedrock of Saqqara and the ingenuity of Imhotep were crucial, the pyramid could not have risen without the lifeblood of Egypt, the river. Its immense power was silently harnessed for the transport of materials, making it the ultimate ancient highway to the very doorstep of the nascent pyramid. Imagine the sheer logistical challenge of moving millions of tons of stone without wheels, steam engines, or even decent roads. The Nile provided the elegant solution. You can almost feel the gentle rocking of a massive wooden barge, laden with gleaming white Tura limestone, the casing stones for the pyramid's exterior, or the dark, heavy granite for the burial chamber, carefully making its way upriver. These weren't pleasure cruises, these were industrial workhorses, navigating the currents with quiet determination. The timing was everything. The annual inundation of the Nile, when the river swelled and overflowed its banks, was not just a time for agriculture, it was prime time for pyramid-building logistics. The floodwaters would rise, reaching closer to the quarry sites, and crucially, much closer to the Saqqara plateau. This drastically reduced the overland distance for hauling the heavy stones, making the arduous task significantly less challenging. It's like waiting for the tide to come in to move your heaviest boat closer to shore, except on a scale that makes your boat look like a bathtub toy. You can almost hear the rhythmic chanting of the boat crews, their voices blending with the gentle lapping of water against the hull as they navigated the broad, fertile river. They would use the prevailing northerly winds to sail south upriver and the current to drift north, downriver, a natural self-sustaining propulsion system. It was a perfectly choreographed dance between human effort and nature's rhythms, a testament to their deep understanding of their environment. You'd think with all that wind, they'd at least invent a decent kite. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is the sheer variety of materials transported. Beyond the core limestone and decorative granite, there would have been timber for scaffolding and sledges, copper for tools, food for the workers, and countless other supplies, all relying on the Nile's vast network. The river was a continuous conveyor belt, feeding the insatiable appetite of the construction site. It's a reminder that even the most impressive stone structures rely on a hidden ballet of diverse resources. Many historians still debate the precise routes taken by the largest granite blocks from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers to the south, and how they were transferred from the barges to the land at Saqqara. Were there temporary harbors, specially constructed docks, or a complex system of causeways that stretched from the river's edge to the pyramid site during the flood season? The exact choreography of these transfers remains a captivating subject of scholarly inquiry. As the quiet of the desert night deepens, you realize that the Nile was more than just a river. It was an indispensable partner in the creation of the first pyramid. Its waters carried the very building blocks of eternity, silently supporting Imhotep's grand vision. It makes you wonder about the subtle, powerful forces in your own life that, though often taken for granted, silently facilitate your biggest endeavors, acting as unseen highways to your own grandest achievements. The desert air, now imbued with the crisp coolness before dawn, brings a different kind of life to mind. The thousands of individuals whose daily existence revolved around the rising monument. Building the first pyramid wasn't just about stone and water. It was about people, and the meticulously organized community of workers that flourished at Saqqara, a temporary city built solely to serve the pharaoh's eternal ambition. Imagine a sprawling settlement, a vibrant, if temporary, hub of human activity just beyond the main construction zone. This wasn't a collection of scattered tents. Archaeological evidence suggests organized housing, communal eating areas, and even basic medical facilities. It was a well-planned village, designed to accommodate thousands of laborers, skilled craftsmen, overseers, and support staff. You can almost hear the low hum of thousands of voices, the clatter of pots and pans, and the distant sounds of early morning preparations. It's like a giant, ancient summer camp, but instead of making friendship bracelets, they were building wonders of the world. These workers, as we gently debunked earlier, were largely not enslaved people in the traditional sense. They were skilled laborers, farmers fulfilling their civic duty during the Nile's flood season, and artisans dedicated to their craft. They were paid in rations, a steady supply of grain for bread and beer, fish, and sometimes meat. This consistent provision of food and sustenance was a powerful motivator, ensuring a healthy and productive workforce. Imagine a system where your salary was literally a daily supply of ancient Egyptian comfort food. Pretty sweet deal, right? The organization of labor was astonishingly sophisticated. Workers were divided into teams or gangs, each with its own foreman and specific responsibilities. These teams might have had names, fostering camaraderie and a sense of shared identity. This hierarchical structure, from the quarrymen to the stone dressers to the ramp pullers, ensured that the vast undertaking was managed with impressive efficiency. It's the kind of complex project management that would make a modern logistics expert weep with admiration, especially considering they didn't have spreadsheets. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is the social life within these worker communities. While the work was undoubtedly hard, there would have been opportunities for leisure, for storytelling around evening fires, and for developing bonds among colleagues. They were building a monumental structure, yes, but they were also living, breathing individuals with hopes, fears, and a shared pride in their collective achievement. You can almost hear the laughter and quiet conversations floating on the night air. Many historians still debate the daily routines and specific living conditions within the Saqqara workers' village. How comfortable were their dwellings? What forms of entertainment did they have? The quiet hum of scholarly inquiry continues to bring these ancient lives into sharper focus, revealing a nuanced picture of their existence beyond just the labor. It's like trying to imagine what life was truly like in a bustling factory town, thousands of years ago, with only a few scattered remnants. As the pre-dawn light begins to gently illuminate the sprawling site, you realize that the first pyramid wasn't just a testament to one pharaoh's ambition or one architect's genius. It was a testament to the collective effort of a vast, organized, and dedicated community. These were the unsung heroes, the thousands of individuals whose daily lives were inextricably linked to the rising stone. It makes you wonder about the invisible communities that support our own grand endeavors today, the quiet dedication of many hands working towards a shared vision, even if their names are lost to the sands of time. The pre-dawn light now paints the eastern sky with soft, muted colors, and as you stand on the ancient plateau of Saqqara, a sense of lingering mystery hangs in the air. Despite centuries of archaeological work and scholarly debate, there are still tantalizing unanswered questions about the exact selection process for this groundbreaking pyramid site. It's as if the desert itself holds some secrets close, whispering only fragments of the full story. Imagine the discussions among Imhotep's inner circle, while we've explored the logical reasons, geological stability, proximity to Memphis, celestial alignment. Were there other, perhaps more esoteric considerations? Did dreams, omens, or the advice of revered oracles play a role in pinpointing this sacred spot? For a civilization so deeply intertwined with the divine, it's not far-fetched to imagine that spiritual guidance was just as crucial as practical assessment. It's like trying to decide where to build your house, but also consulting a crystal ball and the alignment of the stars. You want to cover all your bases, right? Consider the possibility of earlier, undocumented exploratory digs or surveys. Before the grand work began, it's highly probable that smaller investigative pits were dug across the plateau to truly understand the underlying bedrock and its suitability. These early, tentative probes would have left minimal archaeological traces, making them incredibly difficult for modern scholars to identify. It's like finding a pristine ancient manuscript, but realizing the first few pages are missing. You get the gist, but the true beginning is elusive. One fascinating speculation revolves around the memory of the land. Did Saqqara possess ancient, even prehistoric spiritual significance that predated Djoser's reign? Perhaps it was a place where earlier, less monumental burials had occurred, or where natural features held particular sanctity. The ancient Egyptians revered continuity and tradition, so choosing a site with deep historical roots would have imbued the new monument with an added layer of spiritual authority. It's like building a new church on the site of an even older forgotten temple, a subtle nod to timeless sanctity. Many historians still debate the specific criteria that tip the scales in Saqqara's favor over other potentially suitable sites along the western bank of the Nile. Was there another equally promising location that was rejected for a reason we don't yet understand? The nuances of their decision-making process, lost to the sands of time, remain a quiet source of academic contention. It's like trying to figure out why your great-grandparents moved to that specific town, based solely on a few old photographs. As the first gentle light of full dawn touches the ancient stones, you realize that while we can piece together many logical reasons for Saqqara's selection, a part of its story will likely remain forever shrouded in the mist of time. The decision was not just practical, it was profound, a blend of ancient science, deep spirituality, and perhaps a touch of intuitive wisdom. It makes you wonder about the unseen forces and quiet reasons that guide even the most significant choices in our own lives, shaping our paths in ways we may never fully comprehend. This enduring mystery of the site's genesis adds another layer of tranquil contemplation to the enduring legacy of the first pyramid. The sun, now fully risen and casting long, crisp shadows across the desert, illuminates not just the step pyramid, but also the countless other structures that would follow. The pioneering choice of Saqqara as the site for Djoser's monumental complex profoundly influenced the selection of locations for subsequent pyramids. It set a precedent, a kind of ancient real estate guideline, for how pharaohs would choose their eternal resting places for centuries to come. Imagine the pharaohs who came after Djoser, looking to emulate his grandeur and secure their own divine journey. They wouldn't have to start from scratch in their site selection. Imhotep's success at Saqqara provided a tangible blueprint, demonstrating what was possible and, more importantly, what criteria made a site suitable for such a colossal undertaking. It was like setting up the first successful franchise, and every subsequent king wanted a piece of that prime eternal real estate. The key factors established at Saqqara, stable bedrock, proximity to the Nile for transport, and alignment with the West for spiritual reasons, became standard considerations. You can almost envision the royal surveyors, armed with their ropes and astronomical knowledge, fanning out along the western bank of the Nile, searching for the next Saqqara-like location. This wasn't just about finding a spot, it was about finding the perfect spot that mirrored the proven success of the first. This influence is clearly visible in the later pyramid fields. Giza, for instance, home to the iconic Great Pyramids, shares many of these characteristics. A vast, elevated limestone plateau, excellent access to the Nile, and a distinct Western orientation. It's like a spiritual sequel, built on the same successful formula, but with even grander ambitions. You'd think they'd at least acknowledge Imhotep in their promotional materials. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is how the geological features of a site initially assessed by Imhotep at Saqqara continued to dictate future choices. The presence of hard limestone bedrock, easily accessible for quarrying and providing a stable foundation, became a primary driver. It wasn't just about the idea of a pyramid. It was about finding the right stone for the job, and Saqqara showed them where to look. Many historians still debate whether the later pharaohs truly understood the full engineering and astronomical sophistication of Imhotep's initial site selection, or if they simply replicated the successful formula out of tradition and reverence. Was it blind imitation or a continuous refinement of an established wisdom? The enduring presence of these colossal structures, built on similar principles, suggests a deep understanding, even if the finer points of the initial innovation became part of accepted practice. As the sun climbs higher, illuminating the vast desert landscape, you realize that Saqqara was more than just the site of the first pyramid. It was the founding principle, the silent teacher that guided generations of pharaohs and architects in their quest for eternal glory. Its selection wasn't just an isolated decision, it was the genesis of a monumental architectural tradition, shaping the very landscape of ancient Egypt for centuries to come. It makes you wonder about the subtle, often unacknowledged influences from the past that quietly shape our present, guiding our own grand endeavors in ways we might not even consciously realize. The morning light, now a gentle presence over Saqqara, reveals not just the ancient stones but also an aura that transcends mere physicality. The selection of this site, and indeed the entire complex, was imbued with a profound sense of mysticism, sacredness, transforming a geological location into a powerful spiritual nexus. This wasn't just a construction project, it was an act of profound devotion, designed to resonate with the very fabric of the cosmos. Imagine the priests, the scribes, and Imhotep himself consulting ancient texts and conducting rituals to ensure that the chosen site held the favor of the gods. For the ancient Egyptians, the line between the physical and the spiritual was thin, almost permeable. Every decision, especially one of such monumental importance as the pharaoh's eternal home, would have been steeped in religious significance. It's like choosing a spot for your meditation garden, but believing that every pebble and plant holds a direct connection to the divine. You'd want to get it just right, wouldn't you? The very act of building a structure that rose from the earth towards the heavens was itself a spiritual statement. The pyramid, especially the step pyramid, was seen as a giant staircase for the pharaoh's K life force and Bay soul to ascend and join the eternal stars. The site, therefore, had to be a pure, potent conduit for this cosmic journey. You can almost feel the quiet reverence of the workers, even amidst their strenuous labor, knowing they were contributing to something divinely ordained. Consider the symbolism of the Western Bank, which we touched upon earlier. Its association with the setting sun and the realm of the dead was not merely conventional, it was deeply mystical. Saqqara, on this sacred western shore, was inherently a place of transition, a liminal space between worlds, making it the perfect threshold for the pharaoh's eternal transformation. It's a geographical feature imbued with profound, spiritual meaning far more than just a direction on a map. One fascinating detail often overlooked is the belief in the duat, the underworld. The intricate subterranean passages of the step pyramid complex were not just security measures, they were symbolic representations of the pharaoh's journey through this mysterious realm, filled with protective spells and deities. The choice of a site that allowed for such a vast and complex underground network was therefore also a mystical consideration, enabling a secure and spiritually guided passage. It's like designing a spiritual theme park ride through the afterlife, complete with all the necessary twists and turns. Many historians still debate the specific rituals and divine consultations that accompanied the initial site selection for Djoser's pyramid. Was there a particular omen, a prophetic dream, or a unique astronomical event that solidified Saqqara as the chosen place? The silence of the ancient records on these deeply personal and sacred moments adds another layer of intrigue, leaving room for quiet speculation and gentle wonder. As the morning light fully illuminates the ancient necropolis, you realize that Saqqara wasn't just a practical construction site. It was a place of profound spiritual significance, a sacred ground chosen with immense care and reverence, designed to resonate with the deepest beliefs of ancient Egypt. The pyramids stand not only as engineering marvels, but as monumental prayers, forever etched into the landscape, drawing a subtle, enduring current of spiritual energy from the very earth they inhabit. It makes you wonder what subtle, unseen energies might permeate the places we deem sacred today, connecting us to something beyond our tangible world. The desert morning, now bright and clear, carries a subtle resonance that echoes across the centuries, the impact of such a monumental undertaking on the ordinary people. While the pharaoh dreamed of eternity and Imhotep envisioned grand designs, the construction of the first pyramid at Saqqara undoubtedly elicited a complex range of reactions from the common populace. It wasn't just a distant spectacle, it was a defining feature of their world. Imagine a farmer toiling in the fertile fields of the Nile, looking up to see a new, colossal structure slowly rising on the western horizon. What would be his initial reaction? Perhaps a mixture of awe and bewilderment. He might have been accustomed to mastabas, but this was something entirely unprecedented, a truly alien form dominating the landscape. It's like suddenly seeing a skyscraper sprout up in your quiet village. Impressive, yes, but also a bit disorienting. For many, particularly those who volunteered their labor during the flood season, there would have been a profound sense of national pride and religious duty. Contributing to the pharaoh's eternal house was seen as a virtuous act, ensuring not only his passage to the afterlife, but also, by extension, the prosperity and stability of Egypt itself. It was a tangible way for ordinary citizens to participate in a grand collective destiny. You can almost feel the quiet satisfaction of a worker, watching a stone he helped move settle into place, knowing he played a part in something truly immortal. However, it's also important to consider the practical burdens. While workers were compensated with food and shelter, the sheer scale of the project would have placed significant demands on the kingdom's resources. Taxes, whether in the form of labor or produce, would have been collected to fund this colossal endeavor. For those not directly involved in the construction, it might have represented a silent, sometimes heavy, obligation. It's like when your government announces a massive infrastructure project. You know it's for the greater good, but you also brace for the inevitable increase in your utility bills. One fascinating detail often overlooked is the psychological impact of seeing such a structure rise. Over decades, the pyramid would have become an undeniable focal point, a constant reminder of the pharaoh's power and the divine order. It would have subtly shaped their perception of the world, reinforcing hierarchy and the profound connection between their mortal lives and the eternal journey of their ruler. It's a kind of subtle architectural propaganda, etched in stone. Many historians still debate the true level of popular enthusiasm versus obligation in the pyramid workforce. Was it primarily driven by faith and loyalty, or by the practical need for sustenance during the flood season? The exact balance of these motivations, lost to the spoken word of millennia, remains a compelling subject of scholarly inquiry. As the sun climbs higher, illuminating the vast Saqqara complex, you realize that the first pyramid wasn't just built by hands and minds. It was built by a collective consciousness, by the hopes, fears, and silent contributions of an entire populace. Their reactions, though unrecorded in formal histories, were woven into the very fabric of the monument, making it a true reflection of the society that birthed it. It makes you wonder about the unwritten stories of the countless individuals who quietly contribute to the grand structures and systems that define our own world, their subtle influence often overlooked but always undeniably present. The morning light now bathes the entire Saqqara necropolis in a golden glow, revealing not just the step pyramid, but the vast expanse of structures and stories it encompasses. As you stand here, a profound sense of its enduring legacy and long-lasting importance settles over you. Saqqara isn't just an archaeological site, it's a living testament to human ingenuity, a silent library of ancient knowledge, and the birthplace of monumental architecture. Imagine the countless generations who have gazed upon this first pyramid from its initial completion to the present day. It stood as a constant, tangible link to their past, a powerful symbol of their civilization's might and their pharaoh's divine connection. For millennia, it has silently inspired awe, reverence, and perhaps a quiet contemplation of eternity. It's like your favorite old comforting blanket. It's seen countless sunsets and sunrises, yet its presence still brings a sense of peace and continuity. The importance of Saqqara extends far beyond just Djoser's pyramid. It was the crucible of architectural innovation that fundamentally changed how Egyptians built. The transition from mud brick mastabas to colossal stone structures, the experimentation with ramps and tools, the mastery of surveying and alignment. All these foundational leaps were made here, on this very ground. Every subsequent pyramid, from Giza to Djoser, owes its existence, in part, to the lessons learned and precedents set at Saqqara. It's the original blueprint, the grand prototype, that launched an entire era of architectural wonders. Think about the cultural and historical knowledge that Saqqara continues to yield. Ongoing archaeological excavations constantly uncover new tombs, texts, and artifacts, adding layers to our understanding of ancient Egyptian society, religion, daily life, and the people who lived and worked here. It's a vast, open-air museum, constantly revealing new secrets to those patient enough to listen to its whispers. You'd think by now they'd have found a secret ancient library full of all the answers, but the desert prefers to reveal its stories slowly. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is how Saqqara continues to challenge and inspire modern engineering. The techniques used to quarry, transport, and precisely place millions of tons of stone without modern machinery remain a source of professional admiration and scholarly debate. It pushes us to rethink what is possible with simple tools and immense human dedication. It's a humbling reminder that sometimes the primitive solutions were remarkably sophisticated. Many historians still debate the potential for future discoveries at Saqqara. Given its vastness and long history as a necropolis, it's widely believed that significant portions of the site, including countless tombs and structures, remain undiscovered beneath the sands. The quiet promise of new revelations continues to draw researchers from around the world, making Saqqara a dynamic, ever-evolving source of historical wonder. As the morning sun fully illuminates the majestic step pyramid, you realize that Saqqara is not just a collection of ancient stones. It is a living, breathing testament to the dawn of a civilization's monumental ambition, a silent sentinel guarding the secrets of the past and an enduring source of inspiration for the future. Its legacy is etched not just in stone, but in the very fabric of human history, inviting you to quietly contemplate its grandeur, and perhaps as you drift deeper into sleep, dream of its untold stories.